Hey guys, Necromancer 1040 here. So with Halloween coming up, I thought this deck would be very fitting for the season or more holiday. So I thought this would be a perfect match for Halloween. So with that, I bring you my Blackwing deck profile. So yeah, let's get into it. And we want to start off with 3 Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. So he's basically a free summon. You summon him out when you have another Blackwing monster out on the field. He's great because you can cut your opponent's monster's attack points in half, and he's a tuner. So he's very versatile in that sense. So yeah, 3 copies of him. You want to see him as fast as you can. And so that holds true for Blackwing Bora the Spear. He's another Gale the Whirlwind essentially, just with piercing damage, and he has more attack strength. So he's a 1700 attacker, and he's level 4. So Bora and Gale the Whirlwind together on the field, you basically get Armor Master. Blackwing Steam the Cloak. He's probably the best Blackwing in this deck, bar none. You get tokens when he leaves the field, regardless of whether you use him for like a extra deck summon or whatnot. And he can get back onto the field if you sacrifice or tribute something. So, and he's a tuner, so I mean, what more do you want from him? He's amazing. So, yeah. I use 2 Blackwing Chris the Crack of Dawn. So he's kind of like Bora, but only he has a limit to how you can summon him. You can't summon him as many times as you can Bora, so that's why I kept him at 2. Any more would just kind of clump in your hand and would be inconsistent. And he's a 1900 attacker. So have 2 Blackwing Heartman in the Dust. So he's just another summon, and he's great for level manipulation because you can target a Blackwing monster on your side of the field and increase or decrease its level by 1. So if you need a level 7 for Armor Master, you can do that, or you want a level 8, you can do that, and he just makes it easier for you all around. So that's why 2 of them. So 2 Blackwing Blizzard of the Far North. He basically gets you a level 6 monster out, synchro monster out real quick. He summons a Blackwing from your graveyard that's level 4 or lower. He's just great. He's just a quick power play. Just at 2 because you can only activate his effect once per turn. I use 2 Blackwing Vayu the Emblem of Honors. He's great for a Link Karibo play, which we'll get to in a moment. But you can't use him as a synchro material while he's on the field, but what he makes up for is when he's in the graveyard. That's when you can synchro summon him from the grave. And you can synchro summon like any Blackwing monster from your extra deck, so he's insane in that regard. So I use Blackwing Elfin the Raven. He's a huge Blackwing monster. He has great attack points. 2200. When you have another Blackwing on the field, just special summon him out. So he's great. Shura the Blue Flame. I only use 1 copy of him because he does require that you attack and destroy something on your opponent's side of the field in order to activate his effect. I mean, when you do activate it, it's great because you get to summon a Blackwing monster from your deck. But other than that, he's kind of a brick. Not as useful as he was before. So 1 Blackwing Sirocco the Dawn. I use him in case if I can't summon anything out, or if I don't have any monsters on my side of the field, I just throw him onto the field. And I can use him to break boards because he takes on the attack points of every other Blackwing monster on your side of the field and adds it onto his own until the end phase. So you break boards that way. So I use Blackwing Oster the Southwind. He's great if you banish stuff. You don't banish things too much in this deck, but it does happen enough to where you do get use out of Oster. So that's useful, and he's a tuner as well. So great for your Armor Master plays. One Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. He's used in a lot of other combo decks other than Blackwings, so it makes sense to use him. You return one card on your side of the field to your hand, and you special summon this guy out, but you lose 400 life points. So that's a small cost to pay just to get him out to do other Link plays. So I use one Blackwing Kalute the Moon Shadow. I use him at 1 just because I want to. I know other decks prefer not to use him, but he can be useful in the pinch. You just discard him, and one of your Blackwing monsters gains 1400 attack points. So he's useful in that regard, but anything more would kind of be not as consistent. So, a bit of a controversial card here. Into the Void. Into the Void is good for getting you just that extra card that you need in your opening hand. I would only use this card if you really need to use it. I wouldn't just use it willy-nilly. I would use it only if I need to. But it's there if you just need that, if you just don't have a great opening hand, and you see this in your hand and you just need that extra card. But use this card wisely. Don't just use it, like I said, like willy-nilly. Okay, so we use 3 Dark World dealings. This is just another way to dig through your deck. You draw one and then you discard one. Both players do that. It's just to see other cards that you need in the deck, so that's why I use 3 of them. And of course, because this is a dark deck, I'm going to use a Allure of Darkness. So you draw 2 cards and then remove from play 1 dark monster. If you don't have a dark monster in your hand when you activate this effect, then you banish it. Or you throw all your cards in your hand into the grave. But this is where Oster helps you out. If you do banish something, you can use Oster to retrieve whatever you banished. So that's useful. So you gain every advantage you can from that play. I use 3 Pot of Desires in this deck. Mainly because this isn't an even 40 card deck. It's a 47 card deck. So you may have a harder time seeing it. So that's why I use 3. You may need that extra boost and draw power if you're having trouble getting to your necessary cards. So 3 of that. So 2 double summons. Believe it or not, I used to use light monsters in Blackwings. And that's why I use Brilliant Fusion, but this is a substitute for Brilliant Fusion. So this was the closest I could think of it, especially since it got hit in the previous ban list. So it just allows you to special summon, well, not special summon, allows you 2 normal summons. So in case if you have a Blackwing in your hand that you can't quite get out, you can use this to do it. So 2. Black Whirlwind. Honestly, I would use 3, but I only have 2 on me now. This card's just too good. It just allows you to search for your other Blackwing monsters. So the way it works is, let's say you summon a 1900 attacker. You normal summon a 1900 attacker Blackwing monster. So you get to search for a Blackwing monster with less attack points than that from your deck and add it to your hand. Really useful, especially since Blackwings just spam the field so crazily. Now for the 1-ofs. Reasoning, my favorite card, just allows you to get that extra summon if you need it. Same thing with Monster Gate. Monster Gate, you distribute something and you excavate through your deck and you summon another monster. Foolish Burial, just to get stuff like Vayu, the Emblem of Honor, into your graveyard, or Zephyros, and just so you can pull off more plays like that. Same thing with World Legacy Succession. You can get Link monsters very easily out in this deck. And that's just another way of reviving cards if you get a Link monster onto the field. So that's great. So I use 1 Day of Peace. Just more draw power and ways of protecting your life points and kind of stalling out the duel in case of things aren't going your way. one hand destruction. You can easily bump this up to 2 copies and replace it for Into the Void. It's however you want it, but I just use 1. Same thing with Monster Reborn. You just revive something. It's an easy revival. Upstart Goblin, just more draw power. In case if you just can't get to your cards, the necessary cards you need. And then 1 card destruction. If you get an awful hand and you see this in your opening hand, you essentially get to reset your hand, discard everything to the grave. You redraw however many cards you discarded. So that's why I use that. Yeah, a bunch of cards here. Now for the extra deck. So I use 1 Blackwing Armor Master. I know a lot of people don't use him anymore. I just like him. He's good for battling your opponent's monsters. He can break your opponent's board, send your opponent's monsters to 0. If you attack, he can't be destroyed by battle, but he can be destroyed by card effects. But he's still an annoying card, nonetheless, for your opponent. I use Blackwing Graham the Shining Star. He's an easy level 5 synchro. He's easy to summon out with this deck, especially with Vayu. He's used for an extra summon, which this deck can really take advantage of. So he's just meant to really push your plays going forward. I use Blackwing Full Armor Master, especially since you do use quite a bit of wedge counters in this deck. You can steal stuff with whatever it has a wedge counter on. So if one of your opponent's monsters has a wedge counter, you can use Full Armor Master's ability to swipe that card from their side of the field and really ruin their day. So that's why. And he's a 3000 attacker, so he's useful. Another level 5 synchro. Blackwing, Assault Blackwing, Sohaya, I think that's how you pronounce it, the Rainstorm. Anyway, if you have another copy of him, you can banish 1 copy from the grave and special summon that one. If you synchro summoned it through the correct means. And also, if you synchro summoned it, you can special summon this from your graveyard using its first effect. So yeah, I mean, you go into him very easily, and it's just a great card to have. I use Blackwing Dragon. This is another personal preference. You can take a beating on the field, and then you can basically decrease your opponent's monsters if attack points if they attack into him. He's a decent attacker, and you can get out level 8s in this deck. It's very viable. So 1 of him. Blackwing Ascidian Hawk, Joe. So I mainly use him to basically summon level 5 or higher monsters from the graveyard. He's great if your opponent destroys Blackwing Armor Master, something very key to your strategy. Summon this guy out, and then you can get that back. He's really useful in that sense, and yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't call you crazy if you ran 2 copies or even 3. So that's great, and he's a level 7, so you can get him out easily. Blackwing Nathan the Starlight. So this is where Blackwing Blizzard the Far North comes in handy. You can easily get him out with a Blackwing Blizzard the Far North. Just summon Blackwing Blizzard the Far North and summon any level 4 monster out. Synchro summon, you get this guy. He inflicts 800 points of damage to your opponent, and then basically you can normal summon another Blackwing monster in addition to your regular normal summon. So it's just more summon power that this deck needs. Clearwing Synchro Dragon. I just use him because he's a level 7, and you can easily get out level 7s. And he's just a nasty card. He can negate a bunch of things, and he'll really hold your opponent off. So, I mean, why not? He's great. Now for the links, I use, of course, Saryudra's Skuldred. He's just another summoning machine. He can allow you another normal or special summon. And also, I mean, of course, you're going to want to use them for digging through your deck, excavating the top 4 cards of your of your deck just to get that one card. And I mean, he's a very useful card. Almost everyone uses him. Borlo Dragon, just so you can swipe things off your opponent's side of the field. You can break boards with him, and he's just a pain to deal with. He's something that your opponent is going to have to deal with soon, or he's going to get to be too much. So just one of him. Curious the Lightsworn Dominion. You can get him out real quick, especially with something like a Akashic Magician. You just use 2 Blackwings, summon out Akashic Magician. If you have another Blackwing out, you just use that Blackwing and then Akashic Magician, and then you get Curious the Lightsworn Dominion. Obviously, you want Curious out onto the field so you can send something from your grave. Curious is another Foolish Burial in a sense. And if Curious is, I don't know, destroyed by your opponent's card effect or something, I mean, basically when it leaves the field, you get a card from your grave. So it's useful. Underclock Taker is another monster that you can use to get out Curious a lot faster. It's an easy link to basically 2 effect monsters, and I mean, you may get a use of his effect, but I wouldn't really count on it. And then Linkuriboh. This is why we use a Blackwing Vayu, the Emblem of Honor. If you have a Vayu in your hand, you just summon him out onto the field, link away Vayu, and then just get out Linkuriboh. And you can use a Vayu's effect. So he enables a lot of combos for you once he's on the field. So one of him, and the one Xyz in this deck. So Raid Raptor, 4 Strix. Yeah. So you detach 1 overlay material, and you get to search 1 level 4 Darkwing Beast monster from your deck, and you get to add it to your hand. So that's very key in case if you're running low on Blackwing monsters in your hand. So he kind of helps you extend those plays to a point. So, and he's easy to get out because you use a bunch of level 4 monsters. So that's why. Now for the side deck, I don't really use a side deck, mainly because I found this to be a pretty tight build, but I do use these cards as options. So I use Delta Crow Anti-Reverse. Let's say your opponent's running a back row heavy deck. I don't know, maybe they're using Exodia, and you need to use Delta Crow Anti-Reverse to get rid of some problematic cards. And yeah, you have 3 Blackwings on the field, you just destroy their back row, and it's easy. Dark Ruler No More. I only have the 1 copy. Honestly, I would recommend running 2 more, because this card's great. Especially if you just summon a bunch of Blackwing monsters on the field. Use Dark Ruler No More, negate all their effects, and you can basically just attack into them relentlessly. Raigeki, you can use Dark Ruler, use Dark Ruler No More to negate any possible retaliations from your opponent. Then you use Raigeki, destroy their field, and your opponent's feeling really crummy after that. So yeah, that's a strategy you can use. I just side in the 3rd Blizzard of the Far North in case if you need it. Maybe you might need it, maybe you might not. But it's up to you, depending on the match. And Dark Eruption. That's just another option if you can get another Blackwing monster out. Maybe you need Gale the Whirlwind back and you use Dark Eruption. Or you need the level 2 Harmadden, the Dust. And that's just a way for you to get it back and just basically summon it out easily. So that's why that's in the deck. And so yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this deck profile. Thank you thank you so much for watching, guys, and look forward to more content in the future. I'll be sure to bring you more content, and expect more deck profiles and other openings. And I guess I'll see you then. All right, bye.